Thank you so much, everyone, for being here again. I just feel this has been so much work to organize, put on, but oh my gosh, it's so rewarding. It's been such a rewarding 2 days for me, and from the feedback we're receiving, I think it's safe to say it's rewarding for many of you. Our next speaker is Katharine Chestnut. Katharine's talk today, or she's requested to have an interview with me. And the topic we're covering is reclaiming your joy essentials for healing from a narcissistic relationship. Katharine has over 30 years of experience, and this has allowed her to connect with audiences to embark on journeys of self-care, and improved mindfulness through her warm, engaging presence that creates a safe place for exploration. Her website is katharineChestnut.com. She does have a book that's published. It's Inner Affirmations Inspirations, 365 journaling prompts for personalized affirmations and self-discovery. Her free gift for all of us today is 4 mindfulness exercises ebook. And if you purchase the VIP bonus, which I highly recommend again, she has contributed proven mindfulness tools in caring community. So Katharine, thank you so much for being here today with us.
I'm
Did you want to
delighted.
say anything? Sorry. Okay. What I want to ask is, before I start asking you questions, is there something that you would just like to present or say?
I just want to say that I'm delighted to be here, and I am glad to see. I think it's important for everybody to understand that we all have different ways of healing, and it's wonderful to see the different ways that people react and find ways to heal.
Beautiful. Question number 1. And I know I messed around with you and said, you can write down questions. I may not follow it, but I'm gonna. And if God gives me a different question or higher power God, however we identify, if I get a different question that comes up, I will ask it. But I'm being called to honor some of your questions.
Okay.
A question I really like is, how can spirituality support trauma healing?
So let me, I want to start by saying that I was raised in a Catholic household, and some really bad things happened in my childhood and in my life. I was a victim of sexual assault as a teenager by my stepfather. And there were other things that happened that the church had turned my mother away when she divorced my father, who was physically abusive. And that left a very bad taste in my mouth. But the good part that came from all of that is that my mother was very much searching when I was a child, searching for her way to connect with higher power, God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. And for me, many years that later, when I was going through my healing, after my emotionally abusive marriage, all of those things that I had been introduced to over the years came back, and I was able to find my way. It's not necessarily through the church, but I was able to find my connection to a higher power to help me heal from that. And, it's important to recognize that our spiritual side can also caused significant distress, right? For me, I lost faith in God as a child. And remember that our cultural backgrounds inform our worldviews. So when traumatic events happen that challenge that or shatter those beliefs, it can really be unsettling. And for me, it took decades, literally decades, until I was able to find a place where I could feel connected to God, higher power, whatever, and feel that spiritualness that would help me believe in what could help me heal.
Thank you for that. Next question. I'm just jumping around to whatever calls to me. How can mindfulness help people cope with trauma?
So I can tell you, when I was looking to recover, and after my sexual assault, I didn't have these tools to help me. I didn't even know what I was looking for at the time. And, fast forward many years later, after leaving my abusive marriage, my emotionally abusive marriage, I was searching just to be joyful again. I wasn't looking to be mindful. I had that was not on my list. I was looking to be a happy person again and not full of fear and shame and all the things that come being on the receiving end of that. That was not what I was looking for. But in my search, I came across tools, many tools, mindful journaling, meditation, the things that would help me, a body scan or yoga to help me reconnect with my body, because one of the defense mechanisms that we go through while we're going through a traumatic experience is disassociation. And that can be associated with our bodies, with our minds, with our emotions. And it's important that we also need to find the mindfulness practices that help us feel safe, because everybody responds differently to different types of mindfulness activities. So again, listening here and hearing all the different ways that people are finding their faith or their happiness or whatever it is that they're looking for is important, because sometimes meditation's going to work great for me. And sometimes I'm going to do better with journaling. So having many tools of mindfulness to help and support me, I believe, is very important in helping anybody cope with trauma, regardless of where you are in the process of recovery.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot I wasn't unmuted and I was shaking my water bottle and slurping, so I'm sorry for that. Okay, so one of the questions that you don't have on here, and maybe you've assumed, or it's easy to assume people know this. What's the difference, or is there a difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Absolutely. Well, meditation is a form of mindfulness. So, and for many years, I didn't think I could do meditation. I tried so hard for years and years. And I thought you had to sit a certain way and you had to empty your mind and you had to be quiet and, And then I discovered this magical thing called guided meditation. And I have been using the Insight Timer app, which is a free meditation app, for the last coming up on 7 years. And it wasn't until I discovered that way of guided meditation to help me was I able to actually experience the benefits of meditation. And I've honestly been using it every day since I've discovered it. But yes, meditation is just one form of mindfulness.
Thank you. And I am also a complex trauma survivor. And even though I tell every single day in my therapy practice, I tell people to meditate every single day, I still struggle after all these years to do it. And mindfulness is such a gift because mindfulness shows different ways to meditate in small baby step pieces. So it feels much more doable for survivors. You have a great question here that is very important to me and probably others. Is meditation always helpful to trauma survivors?
This is really, really important to recognize, because I understand you're telling your clients to meditate and you're struggling to do it yourself. And it's not always helpful for everybody at every stage of their recovery from trauma. In some cases, and I actually wrote a blog about this a few months ago, in some cases, the meditation can trigger
Yes.
a sensation in their body, and it won't feel safe. Now, typically, meditation can alleviate some of those symptoms and promote healing. But again, sometimes it makes that pain, that memory, that muscle memory of that really hard and can make it worse. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, there were, I was, so you just have to know this about me. When I first started listening to the meditations, I was looking for meditations to help me recover from that emotional abuse. And there weren't a lot of them. So then I started making my own. But I would get triggered and I would start sobbing. But this is what you have to know. I'm like, I gotta feel it to heal it. That's me. Like, I'm going to push myself through it. But for some people, again, if I hadn't been in a place where I felt safe, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And for some people that I have, worked with and talked with since then, it works for me. But again, some people have a disconnection or a disassociation as a defense mechanism if those memories and emotions are triggered, regardless of how they're triggered, whether it be through meditation or something else. But I think it's important to be sensitive and aware of whatever the trauma survivor is going through and experiencing, and recognize we have lots of different ways to heal. And this is just one of them. And it may not be working for you right now, but it might work for you in a month or 6 months or a year, because we're all on a journey and we're at different stages in our journey.
Thank you. And I do say that to my clients. So thank you for that validation.
Yes.
What modifications can be made to mindfulness practices for survivors?
So just like you just said, if you are you modify your recommendations or suggestions to each person based on what their trauma was. What was it that they went through and what is working for them? And it's, for some people, for me personally, if I am focused on my breath, if I'm doing breath work, it is a way to instantly calm me down. It doesn't matter. I can take close my eyes and take 3 deep breaths, and you can pull me off the ceiling if I've, landed on the ceiling, right? But for some people, focusing on the breath triggers something that might be out of balance for their sympathetic nervous system. So finding different ways to focus your attention. So breath might not be the way. And most traditional meditations start with take a deep breath. So even I do it, and because it works for me, but I recognize that it doesn't work for others. So rather than focusing on the breath, you could focus on putting your feet on the ground and feeling the ground through your shoes or through your soles. That might be one way to adjust. You could also focus on sounds, external sounds, what's going on around you. Personally, I love going on, well, and another thing is doing some physical activity while you're doing it. And one of my favorite things to do, and I do it usually a couple times a day, is to listen to a guided walking meditation. And it keeps me present. It keeps me in the moment, because otherwise, and I'm usually doing this as I'm walking to and from work. And if I get a break, I'll go for a walk and I'll listen rather than listen to music or something else. I will listen to a walking meditation because I need this moment to just be. Because if I'm not listening to that, I'm thinking about all the stuff I left at home that I got to do home when I get back there tonight, or I'm thinking about the stuff I got to do when I get to work, or I'm thinking about the party that I'm going to tomorrow night, and I need to go to the grocery store and I need to buy this and blah, 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 right? Because our brains never stop working. That's the beautiful, absolutely, Don. That is the beautiful thing about meditation, is that it gets you present and in the moment. But there are other ways. That's what mindfulness is getting you in the moment. I love doing a walking meditation for that. And that is another way, an alternative way to practice mindfulness. That, yes, I call it a walking meditation, or they call it active meditation. Yoga is called that sometimes too. But when you're doing that, you're paying attention to what you see and appreciating what's around you, the colors, and the way that maybe there's a breeze on your skin, or you're listening to the birds in the trees, or maybe you're inside. But the goal is to avoid triggers and overwhelm while you're strengthening your ability to face those painful experiences gradually.
Thank you so much. There maybe is a question or two that we didn't get to. What I'm going to do, Catherine, is put them in the Facebook group chat for you to answer at your leisure. And if anyone else has questions for Catherine, I'm sorry I took up your time with the questions I asked. But please, put them in the Facebook group. And Catherine, thank you so much. I think a lot of people struggle with meditation, and mindfulness is a solution. So thank you for that.
You are most welcome. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that's what I was going for when I was looking for it. And it came to me. That was my way to connect. And it also gave me the ability to not feel alone and connected to the universe, and that I was part of something greater.
Beautiful. Some of us would say that when it came to you, that might have been God or a higher power.